Okay, we'll move on to other business. Status report of the emergency response continuing operation plan of local government. Ken?
Yeah, I've got a number of updates regarding the city's participation and response to the COVID-19 pandemic. First off, the city continues to provide essential services to the community, including public safety, street and park maintenance, conducting building inspections where practical, providing plan checks and inspections for utility and construction projects that are still ongoing, internal operations such as accounts payable and payroll, and providing the community with public information. Services that have been suspended include all public buildings are closed to the public, though we still have staff working out of them, and all phone services are operational. Park amenities are closed, however, restrooms remain open. All recreation programs have been suspended. Overnight parking enforcement is suspended, and all public meetings except city council meetings are suspended. The city initiated a San Dimas Cares program a few weeks ago. It's well underway. The program consists of providing meals and groceries and staple supplies through either drop-off or pickup to residents. Various local businesses have donated meals, food, and supplies. In addition, the city collects dropped-off supplies twice a week. The program is coordinated by the city's Parks and Recreation Department in coordination with our community volunteers. If people would like to know how to donate or would like to be a recipient, they can go to the city's website for more details. The Safer at Home orders from the state and the county are still in place through at least May 15th. Both the state and the county have outlined some benchmarks to meet and the steps that would be taken before the orders would be modified. Emphasize modified, because depending on who releases the order, both the state and the county have indicated a slow rollout of modifications to the order. It's not going to be like a light switch where one day all services will be restored. It's going to be a slow rollout, and there still will be stay-at-home and social distancing and masking requirements for an extended period of time. For example, at today's press conference, the governor laid out more details as far as what types of restrictions might be lifted and in what phases. For example, the next phase of relifting of restrictions might be on lower risk businesses and manufacturers, schools, and daycares. Next might be higher risk businesses such as hair salons or businesses where it's hard to avoid close contact with customers. And lastly would be the lifting of restrictions on large gatherings. The governor also indicated that even as businesses are reopened, as I mentioned, social distancing and face coverings would still probably be required. The only hint on the timing of when all this might occur is that the governor indicated that the first phase, which would be the releasing of more businesses open to the public, and open to the public may be that some businesses may only allow for pickup delivery and not in-store shopping. But the indication would be that that phase might be in a matter of weeks. However, he also emphasized the fact that the other phases, phase 3 and 4, could be in a matter of months. So there is no specific time frame. The other thing that's important to recognize is that even if the state relaxes or modifies some of the restrictions, the county may still impose further restrictions. It will be on a county-by-county basis if counties want to continue with more stringent requirements. So we haven't heard, the county did the other day outline their benchmark plan of the criteria that they will use when they make determinations on when they will start modifying the orders, but they haven't given any indication on the timing of when that might occur. We also receive routine phone calls from individual businesses in town asking us when the city will allow their business to reopen. I want to emphasize, and what we tell the callers is that the orders in place are from the state and the county, and in particular the county is the one who regulates when those orders would be modified. We emphasize to them that the city is not in a position to making determinations on what businesses may reopen or when they may reopen. We're following the lead of the county health department, who are the experts in this area. We also understand that some people have expressed that they understand that there are some surrounding cities that are allowing restaurants to reopen. To my knowledge, that's not the case. In fact, we confirmed with Laverne, which is one of the cities that was mentioned, and they have not relieved any restrictions on opening of restaurants. I participate in a countywide conference call with city managers throughout San Gabriel Valley on a weekly basis, and to my knowledge, there is no city that has chosen to relieve any restrictions outside of the county's orders at this point. So that is probably misinformation that is out in the community. However, that doesn't mean that there may be individual businesses who are defying the county and the state orders and operating their businesses in non-compliance with the orders. That may be occurring, and if that's the case, the enforcement agency in the city of San Dimas is the San Dimas Sheriff's Department, and if there are violations, the protocol would be that they would approach the business and issue them warnings that they are in violation of the county's order to not be open. The next item that I want to touch on is, I know the council is aware, and I'm not sure how aware the community is, of a program statewide and countywide, which is referred to as Project Room Key. This is a collective, collaborative effort by the state and the county to secure hotel and motel rooms for vulnerable people experiencing homelessness. It provides a way for people without a home to stay inside during the stay-at-home orders. The County of Los Angeles is looking to secure 15,000 rooms countywide. The clients are not those who have been tested positive for the virus or under quarantine. The clients would be those who are a vulnerable population, such as those who are over 65 or with underlying illness. The clients would be screened by the county LASA, which is the homeless association that handles homeless programs throughout the county, and they would be referred to a hotel. It's not a walk-in basis where somebody can walk up to a hotel that's been identified and check in. They have to be referred by the county to that facility. The hotel is managed by trained professionals with experience in working with the homeless population. It's staffed with healthcare workers and secured by private security. The clients who are at the hotels will receive health screenings on a daily basis. They'll be provided 3 meals a day, and social service workers will work with the clients to try and match them up with needed services. The city has been notified by the county that a hotel in San Dimas is being considered for a potential site. An agreement has not yet been signed, so there is no hotel that has an actual agreement to take in these clients at this point. The city has been working with the county to identify additional information and get more details about how a hotel, if it is operated in San Dimas, would operate and the parameters of how it would operate. The city will be posting tomorrow morning an updated frequently asked questions sheet on our website, which talks about the program or project Room Key in general terms, not specifically about any hotel in San Dimas, but it kind of outlines the general parameters, the requirements, and the operational characteristics of this program. So that'll be on our website if someone would like more information about that program. So that's all the information that we have on that program at this point. We're still in discussions with the county on getting information from them. So those are the highlights that I wanted to emphasize tonight as far as an update on the pandemic. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions regarding any of the items that I talked about or any other questions that you might have regarding the city's response to the pandemic.
Any questions? Ken, I'd just like you to touch on the fact that summer is approaching, and I realize the county has all these restrictions in place, and the state and everyone else, but at what point do we need to make a decision on if we're going to continue our summer projects, you know, our after-school care, whatever the programs are we offer at other parks and all that stuff? When do we plan on coming up with a decision on that? It's got to be getting pretty close.
Yeah, in fact, I was going to touch on that under my city manager's report, but I'll take it up now because it is related to this. Our city staff has been working on trying to come up with some exploring potential options for some modified programs for summer recreation programs for the summer. Again, it's all contingent, though, on the restrictions, when restrictions might be lifted, what restrictions still may be in place. So our recreation staff over the last weeks have been trying to put together what might be some modified programming. So we're working towards how we would implement those programs, when we might be able to implement them, and what those might look like. But it's all going to be, again, situational, depending on when we know when some of these restrictions are lifted. I think what we're looking at is that, within the next couple of weeks, we have to make some hard decisions on some of the programs because of the ramping up period. So what we're planning on is bringing back to the council, if hopefully within 2 weeks, we might know a little bit more about what restrictions might be lifted and what might be in place. And then we can bring back a slate of proposed programs to the council at your next meeting and explain what we're looking at. It definitely would be modified. There are certain programs that we cannot offer. Others would have to be modified again, depending on, if social distancing and masking is a continued requirement throughout the summer, that really limits some of the recreation programming. But we want to try and offer, if we can, anything that will be an alternative to the community once they're able to move about more freely in the community. So that's about the best answer. I think within the next 2 weeks we'll probably know a little bit more, but at least we're positioning ourselves that when the time comes and we may be able to offer something, we'll be able to roll that out. And it probably will be that it'll be rolled out in phases. It may be that one type of program we can start at a certain time, then maybe in a couple of weeks, when new restrictions are lifted, we might be able to roll out another program. So it's not going to be like in the past where, June 1st, we roll out all of our recreation programs for the summer. And I think clearly the direction that we're hearing is that large gathering events are probably going to be restricted at least through the summer, if not through the end of the calendar year. So that could impact some of our very large events. But again, we won't know that until some of these restrictions are lifted.
Okay. Any questions?
Yeah, Ken, a couple things. A few meetings ago, we presented on the continuity of operations plan or continuity of government plan. Is there any update on that? I know we were going to update some elements of that.
Yeah, and I know staff has been working on that, but I don't have the status of what that is. But I know staff has been working on it. Okay.
And then I think in the same meeting, we talked about remote capabilities for council, potentially looking at Surface Pros or iPads. I know there was discussion or a presentation or in a packet or something that there was more equipment, or maybe one of your updates that staff received. I'm not aware of anything that's come to council, so is there any update on what a remote capabilities plan would be? I know cities like Glendora and others are using Zoom video conferencing for their continuity of government plan to a certain degree, and in honor of Arbor Day, to save some trees, perhaps I'm fine going digital without having to keep killing paper.
Yeah, and we'll continue to explore that. We haven't gotten to that detail yet, but I think especially if this continues with this mode of operation as far as council meetings, it may be. And my understanding is that most cities are fully off virtual. Most cities are virtual council meetings now. I think we're one of the few that still actually have live presence. And especially if we move in that direction, we need to provide you with the tools to do that.
Yeah,
so we'll continue to explore that.
Yeah, I'd like that's a priority to me.
Yeah.
Quite literally, if something turned for the worst, and even not to be able to see John at this point. I'd rather the technology's there to be able to have John visually with us. I'd like to see that soon. Another city.
Here.
Yeah, there we go. All right. And I do know Councilman Ebner's been asking for a tablet type of thing for a while too, so I think it's a good opportunity to make the investment. Other cities, as they prepare for the rolling out, I was talking to a city manager in a city up north this afternoon, and their council has adopted an exposure reduction plan. And I think that may be something, whereas we could start a campaign to assist largely with the principles that are being put out from the governor's plan as well as the county on preparing for a time when businesses may open. And I'm not saying that we need to be in a position to do anything other than what the county and the governor's orders are, but I do think that in anticipation of the restrictions lifting in a phased systemic process, that we should have some sort of exposure reduction campaign to educate business owners on what they need to be mindful of and what proper social distancing and hygiene related matters they perhaps should adopt when they do that. So if we can start looking at an idea like that or a concept like that to see, I Googled it too, and there seems to be some other cities too that are starting to think a little bit forward about what that's going to look like so their businesses are prepared. I'd love to see something like that moving forward.
Yeah, and we actually started to gather that information. There's a couple surrounding cities that are starting to adopt those kind of business continuity plans. So we're looking at that, as well as we're also starting to look at for our operations, as far as when we begin to open up City Hall or begin to provide fuller services, how are those services going to be delivered? And again, it's going to be a slow rollout, so we anticipate that we need to have some short-term, middle-term, and long-term plans on how we're going to roll that out. And so we're working. In fact, tomorrow we're going to be putting together a task force within the organization to start looking at that.
Okay. And have we received any of our updates, our quarterly updates from HDL related to sales tax for the first quarter of this year?
Yeah, in fact, we have a meeting, I believe, on Thursday of this week with our with the consultant, but we've actually been receiving, they've been providing us with data on sales tax and property tax. So we have some good projections as far as what the impacts are for what would be second quarter this year, and then projecting out what would be the first and second quarters for next year.
The first quarter, this was kicking off, I think, in March. And then second quarter, obviously, it's going to take the majority of second quarter.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
we actually have the I don't have the numbers in front of me, but we actually have the dollar amounts, and we've actually placed those numbers in our preliminary budget.
Good news. Okay, cool. And then lastly, the senior feeding program I saw was featured on a video White Axe did in the county. Can you talk a little bit about that and what the highlight was? I understand it was like a pretty good thing that we're doing with this SD Cares, it seems.
Yeah, that we provide our senior lunch program. The meals are provided by the YMCA, excuse me, and the program is under the umbrella of the county. And so the county CEO's office approached the YMCA and said, can we get an update on how you're providing food delivery in this new environment? And so for one day, they kind of shadowed the YMCA on how they prepare the food, how they deliver it to the venues. And the YMCA suggested that our food delivery program here in San Dimas was a good model for them to take a look at. So they came out one day and shot some video, which I believe is part of the comprehensive video that was shared with the CEO's office.
Cool. Yeah, it's really good work. I'm very proud of everybody who's involved with that.
Yeah, we've actually, and again, it's kind of like a model program. Our staff really, the coordinator of the programs, when they came out and saw it the first time, they said, other agencies, cars were lined up around the block. They were kind of coming in haphazardly, and we were very organized. So our Parks and Recreation Department did a really good job in coordinating that.